What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chase and Jay Show. He's Chase, and I'm JS. And tonight we have Dewey Rides with us. Welcome to the show, Dewey. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us.
Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me here, guys.
Thanks for taking off work early since you're over on the West Coast.
yeah.
Right,
I
look at
was
this guy.
hard.
He's still got a little bit of daylight back there. There's some sunset happening. You know,
it'll be black in not too long, I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure that's AI.
Yeah, right. it gets dark at 4:30 here right now, so I'm a little jealous because
I'm in a social media farm in South Korea.
Well, hey, at least it's south of the border, brother.
Well, it's funny because I guess you have been pretty far from South Korea, but you have been quite a ways away pretty recently, right? So,
yes, I have. It's been an adjustment actually coming back. Things are different here.
When did you get back?
I got back at mid-July ish. So
okay.
Yeah, it's been I think 4 months or something like that. I don't even know what day it is now. So
what's up, Wagonators?
Wagonators!
So Jay, I don't know how you want to handle this, but Dewey, why don't you tell us? So you just went on a big trip, or you got back from a big trip with all the countries. So could you maybe just prime our guests who may not be familiar with what you do, kind of what your recent trip was, just kind of a ballpark around the way, kind of what you did.
Yeah, sure. What I did was I took 2.5 years and I rode from where I live in Oregon to the tip of South America and then all the way back up, give or take, minus some detours, things along the way, things that go wrong, but yeah, that's the gist of it, is from top to bottom and back.
Did you lose a bet or something, or?
No, I had dreamt of doing it, right? I mean, it wasn't. Yeah. It was something that takes a lot of effort and determination to go do. It's not something you just go do.
A lot of planning involved. When did you finally decide to pull the trigger and go?
I started thinking about it. Actually, I went to Alaska in 2015 on a motorcycle, and that was just a little over a month for that trip. And I said to myself, I really want to do something more long-term, because it's like 3 weeks in, I was finally starting to feel like I was just traveling on a motorcycle, and it's time to turn around and come home. So I want to do it, to the point where I really feel like I'm living the life of just traveling. And so it was kind of rattling around in the back of my head, and I was putting a little bit of money away if I had kind of a rainy day fund for if I ever want to go travel. But when COVID hit and I couldn't go anywhere, that's when I really decided that, as soon as the world opens back up, I'm going to go have an adventure, and I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
So how long did it take you to plan it?
I really don't plan that much. Most days I don't know when I wake up in the morning where I'm going. I figure that out at breakfast. It's too much to try to plan, right? There's too many unknowns, too much about the route. It's not worth planning. I dropped pins for things that I wanted to see, and then do my best to connect them as I can and talk to people and find out what's to see in the area of the world that they live in, because most of them know about stuff that you're never going to find Googling it. You just have to ask them and they'll tell you about it, and you go see it.
I was going to say, yeah, with that timeline, which, what did you say, you were gone for 2.5 years?
Yeah, almost 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's definitely not a straight shot down the interstate and back. Like you went around,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I didn't realize it was that long. Like I say, I kind of poked around on your YouTube videos and stuff, and I was like, oh, cool. He kind of went down, did the thing. But gosh, 2.5 years, that is that's more than a vacation or a trip. That's like a lifestyle for a while,
Yeah, no, it became what I did for quite a long time. And, a big part of it was I wanted to go slowly, so I get to see things and spend time in places and get to meet people in the cultures there. And that's as much of the trip as seeing things. Eventually you get to the point where you've seen so many pretty places, and it's like, oh, look, another pretty mountain. But you can go meet really unique people and really interesting cultures and make friends along the way. And that turned into the part that I wanted. And you need time to be able to do that. You need to be in places for a few days and walk around, enjoy the little villages and things like that.
Yeah, it definitely looks like you spent a good bit of time kind of off the beaten path and just kind of meeting people and hanging out, which is super cool. I mean, I guess either way is super cool. If you can go ride, how many miles do you think that? Well, I guess there's a big difference between how many miles is it down and up and how many miles you actually rode, right? But
Yeah, no, I actually rode just a little over 50,000 miles.
Nice.
So it's,
Yeah.
So, but that's a pretty slow pace when you consider it over, more than 2 years. I mean, there were big chunks of it. There was a couple of big chunks where I didn't ride for a while, and so really riding wise, I probably had 18 or 19 months worth of actual riding and traveling. The other part of that, I was pretty stationary, but that's it's not crazy mileage for that much time, but most days I wanted to go slow.
My clue was, that definitely speaks to you kind of spider webbing around all the places you were, as opposed to just trying to make it through a country to the next country, really experiencing it versus just taking a motorcycle trip straight down, straight back, whatever. Do you speak Spanish?
I get by now. I didn't speak a word of it when I first crossed into Mexico the first time. I could say, hola and, quiero un quesadilla.
I was thinking back to $1 Million Bogan about watching his travels through South America, where he was just like at borders, like, I don't speak enough Spanish.
Funny, the borders, there's always somebody at the border who speaks English. I think it would be really tough if you were from, some Eastern European country and spoke a language that they're not going to have at every border in South America. But English, there's always somebody there. And, the person you're talking to may not speak it, but if they have a real problem trying to figure out what you need, they're going to have somebody there who speaks English. But it definitely helps to speak to them in Spanish, and to do that, it's, I think it lets their guard down, and they're a lot more willing to help you if you're speaking to them in their language than being
or at least trying to.
Yeah, than being that tourist who's demanding that they speak English to you.
Right.
Nobody likes that person.
PSA for all our Japanese viewers: if you're coming to South America, learn Spanish.
There you go.
Yeah. Although, if you run into somebody who speaks Japanese in South America, they are going to be so excited to get to speak Japanese to you, though.
Right.
So how many countries, I guess, I don't know if you did any multiple border crossings, but how many total countries did you go to?
I went to 19 countries, and I did. Some of them I crossed the border a lot. I bounced back and forth through the Andes, and so I crossed the border between Chile and Argentina, I think 9 times or something like that in total. There was a few others that I crossed multiple times that I, would cut a corner of one country and back into another country, and you just do that. It's part of the game.
So what was your ride? What was your steed?
I did well. I did it on 2. I started on a Suzuki DR650, and then I did most of the trip on a CRF 250 rally.
Right on.
That's the red and blue one, right?
Yeah, that's the red.
Yeah,
red one.
That's what I was telling you. I've been out of the game so long, I couldn't tell what the bike was. Oh my god, it's like an enduro something. I don't know.
Right. Well, that's what it started life out as.
Yeah, that's all the kind of enduro style. Once you put the high fender on it, they all kind of look the same.
Right. Could have been a KLX. Could have been a KDO.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only out of country trip I've ever taken is me and my dad left out of Seattle and went up to Hyder, Alaska, which is the closest place in Alaska you can ride to. So I can say I've been to Alaska on a motorcycle. It's kind of cheating. Like, I didn't go to like North Alaska as the southernmost point, but
Hyder's a cool spot. Did you get Hyderized while you were there?
No, we rolled in. I watched the sunset at like 11:30 in August, and then laid my head down for 4 hours and woke up, and it looked like noon. It was bright out there. So we got back on the bikes and turned around and went back to Washington State. Went around the peninsula and come back.
Yeah, no, that's the big thing up there in Hyder, Alaska. There's basically like one bar
Yeah.
and a coffee shop, and that's all that's there. And at the bar, you go in and they give you a shot of Everclear, and they call it getting hyderized and hyder.
Oh yeah. Nope, I missed that. We stayed in the little hotel room right next door.
Yeah, that or the one above. There's like a building right sort of by the dock that has a
Yep.
hotel up above it.
Yeah, and I think they've got like 2 or 3 rooms. When we were there, there was like 2 or 3 rooms. Like if you're looking at the front, there was like 2 or 3 rooms to the right, and then there was some more rooms up top.
Yeah.
But dude, that was crazy because you're coming through Canada, and I don't remember the name of that little town, but I'm just riding along. The pavement's super nice in Canada, and then it's like America, and it just turns to pothole gravel road, all like real quick. Because I'm looking around at the mountains, and all the sights, and I'm like, man, this is cool, And then we hit the border, and it just.
Yeah, well, and it's funny is we don't. There's not even a U.S. border side, right? You can just ride right through. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't even have a U.S. border guard there. But going back into Canada, they have a border guard there protecting Canada from all 6 people that live in Hyder.
Yeah. I was say that sounds like the border between Arkansas and Oklahoma, Jay.
Well, I mean that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. As soon as you cross that thing, you're like, turn in the suspension. I always used to joke when I was on the R9T that had like fully adjustable suspension. I would tell my sister that I have like Oklahoma mode, which is where I like turn everything down to where it's just like springy as shit, or else I might get my teeth knocked out. Really's asking you to tell them about the Harley on the gravel roads. So I guess we got a story coming.
Yeah. So there's a very famous road in southern Chile called the Carretera Austral.
Okay.
And it's one of the big adventure rides to go ride. It's 1,000 miles long of gravel roads out into southern Chile's Patagonia. And I met some Brazilians that were doing it, and one of the guys was on a big Harley. I think it's a Road King, with the big plexiglass shield up, and rode the entire 1,000 miles of gravel on his Harley, and loved every minute of it. But anybody who says you can't do it, you can do it on any motorcycle if you want to.
You hear that, Road King? We're going to Chile.
Hey, didn't MDB did it on a Road King, right? Marine One's a Road King, isn't it?
Yeah. Marine One was a Road King. Yeah.
What does Shade Tree say? Any bike's an adventure bike if you take it on an adventure.
Right.
That's right.
Any bike's a dirt bike if you just point it towards the dirt.
Yeah.
Man, my R18 has done more miles off road than my GS ever did.
But I tell you, it's a lot easier to take a 400-pound motorcycle, not an 800-pound motorcycle on dirt roads.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and of course you did it like the smart way, right? You didn't try to take like some like 1250 GS that weighs like 700 pounds down there. I know, like, it's kind of like we all grew up. Well, I say we all grew up like with, you and Charlie going, the long way around to East or whatever. But then everybody after was like, no, that's stupid. You get soft bags on like a KTM like 690 Adventure or whatever, and it's good enough on the road, but it's good off road. Whereas the GS is pretty terrible off road.
Yeah, I mean, for what the GS is, it's phenomenal off road when you consider the size and everything that goes with it. Yeah. But there were certainly days that I really wished I had a big, comfortable motorcycle, like that, not a little 250 dirt bike. But
man, I should have brought the KLR.
Yeah, there were days that the 250 was the one to have. What was that?
How much do you think you rode off road versus on road?
Mileage wise or time wise?
Whichever one's easier to remember.
Yeah, whichever one you favor.
Time wise was probably 40% off road, 60% on road. Mileage wise, it was probably more like 20% off road, 80% on road, because you just cover the miles so much faster.
Yeah.
So did you stick with? I didn't pay attention to your tires, so this is news to me. Did you stick with off road tires? Did you kind of have a mix? I mean, what did you do for all that?
None of them were what I would call a really off road tire. There was a couple of times when I knew I was going to be doing a lot of sand in like the Atacama Desert in Bolivia. I put a set of Anarchy Wilds, which are like a 50-50 tire. The rest of the time, it was usually stuff like a Mitas or a Heidenau K60, stuff like that. That lasts a long time because, you just an aggressive tire, you just burn through it when you're doing that many miles. And
Yeah.
in places where you may not be able to easily find a tire, having one that lasts a long time is more important to me than a little bit more grip.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was thinking, like, I was like, you know, you think about planning it, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if you knew how many miles or how long you were going to be gone when you really started or whatever, but like the fact that you never went deeper than like a 50-50 tire is pretty cool because I mean, I know some of that stuff down, you know, Patagonia and stuff. I mean, that's like legit, like, you know, pretty serious off road. I mean, it's not single track, like, you know, whatever, but it's still like being able to do a 50-50 tire on for anybody in the audience who thinks you can't take a bike or a tire off road. You totally can. You just got to have the will and the capability to handle the tire off road, right?
Yeah. And sometimes the luxury of time. I can watch what the weather's doing and, you know, not take it down a really muddy road. I can wait 2 days for the weather to clear up. So that's the stuff that's the real Achilles heel to like a 50-50 tire is when you get into mud or deep sand. On just a normal dirt, gravel road, stuff like that, they're going to be fine. Even if it's rough and steep and stuff, you're not giving up that much. It's the mud and the sand that you really struggle with it.
Yeah, especially those high nows. I mean, they're great for mileage, but they are marbles in the rain because they're made out of, you know, cement basically. You know, it's like everybody that pitches Shinkos to me and they're like, oh man, I get 20,000 miles out of a Shinko. And I'm like, yeah, but when you hit rain, do you just die? Or like,
Hey, calm down there, driver. I do okay on my Shinkos, okay?
Yeah, the K60 is not my favorite tire at all. I prefer the Mitas EO7. I think is a really good kind of, if you can find it, it's about the best, I think, mix of grip on dry pavement to have fun, ability to take it on off-road and dirt stuff, and longevity. I think, you know, it's about
how
as
many
good
sets
as
of tires did you go through in 2.5 years? 50,000 miles, 2.5 years.
I think I went through about 8 rears and 6 fronts, give or take.
I mean,
okay. That's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's respectable.
I mean,
Those
it's
are
a
definitely
250, so it doesn't weigh a lot, and it doesn't have a lot of power to burn up the tires either.
Right. That's
fair.
true. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. What was something surprisingly harder than you thought?
So one of the ones is everybody talks about the famous Ruta 40 in southern Argentina. You know, well, it runs all of Argentina. It runs the entire length of it, and it's, you know, quite famous. And there's a stretch of it called the 73 Malditos, which is the damned 73, and everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about it. And I wrote it, and there's, you know, a couple of tough areas, and, you know, fine. You get 250 miles up the road. There's another section that's unpaved, and it was a lot more challenging, a lot steeper, a lot looser, and it went on for a long time. And nobody talks about it. It's like they gave a fancy name to the one, and it was the easier of the two, and nobody ever tells you about the second one. So there's some surprises like that.
So you made it through the 70 and you were like, oh, well, everybody hyped that up. And then you got to the next part and you were like, what the shit? Like, why is this harder than what everybody was talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it hard per se. It was just, you know, if you've ever ridden any motorcycle in deep kind of river rock gravel, you know, that it was that, but for a long time. And you're, you know, trying to climb a hill and stuff's moving around, and you know, it's just,
it's exhausting.
It wears you out because you're concentrating the entire time and not. But it was just one of those. I didn't know it was coming because nobody tells you about it. Everybody talks about the section 200 miles before it. It was pretty easy.
Yeah. So, well, you said you didn't really plan all that much. So, were you just kind of going by word of mouth? And did you, you know, like, well, I guess I'll go that way today, kind of thing? I mean, or how'd that go?
Yeah. Usually, what I would do is I'd get up, and while I had a cup of coffee and breakfast, I'd look at my phone and I would see if I had anything in the general area that I had marked as something I wanted to see, whether it was, you know, a waterfall or a colonial village or something. If I didn't, I'd kind of look around at the roads and see if there was a nice twisty one that looked like it might be fun. And sometimes I would ask the people where I was staying if there was somebody to ask if there was anything to see or which way I should go, and people would tell me, and I would just kind of go that way until I found a place that it looked like a place I wanted to stop for the night.
Yeah.
And that was,
And
for the most part, there were some things that you needed to plan in advance, but you can, not months in advance, right? When you go to some of the big cities and some of the big capitals, you might want to have a hotel reservation if you're going to be there for 4 or 5 days. You get that a few days in advance, but yeah, there's no need to over plan it. I think if you over plan things, you don't have the freedom to adjust that plan because you're locked into it, and it's all the adjustments from the plan that are usually the best parts of any trip.
And the worst thing you can do to a motorcycle trip is put a timeline on it.
It is. I had zero stress really about the route because I didn't have a route to stress about.
Yeah.
And it's really true. And I've done plenty of trips, and it's different when you have, like I do, where you quit your job and go for just an indefinite period of time. But normally when I do a 1 week or 2 week trip when I'm home with a friend, we always have to plan it because you have to be back because you have to go back to work, and there's always that stress about it. Or are we going to miss something? Are we going to make it? Are we going to be riding in after dark for 2 hours every night to where we're trying to get to, and all that stuff?
Yeah, and that, which honestly, you even describing that, it sounds so cool, but it also gives me hives because I'm like the most planned person that has ever planned. Jay knows the story. I have a spreadsheet for this show.
What? Never seen such a thing, sir.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, it's super crazy to me to think about that. Like just going and kind of like knowing you're going to get to a place, like a town, and there's going to be a place to stay and stuff. I mean, it's super cool. I guess I'm not necessarily built like that. I appreciate it. I'm just not maybe built like that.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly takes some getting used to. And there's certain things that you do, like I'm meticulous with like the maintenance on the motorcycle and tracking that stuff because that's the thing I need to take care of, right?
Yeah.
So there's things where being a very good planner and organized and things, you really have to do it and have a place for it. But there's other things that I think, and if you're willing to burn a reservation and go, hey, we found this really cool spot that's 40 miles from where we said we were going to get to, but I really want to stay here. If that's the thing you lose if you overplan it, is when you find those real gems of spots, you want to be able to spend time there.
What's something that was surprisingly easy that you thought might have been hard?
I think one of them was the borders. There's a lot of other people that are doing trips like mine and traveling, internationally, and even on some of the borders that I went through. And there's certain borders that are notorious that travelers always talk about. And, especially when you're into your first few border crossings, you get nervous about it because you don't know what to expect. But I really had almost no issues. Generally, everybody was incredibly friendly and accommodating. And especially even the ones that the absolute worst border that everybody complains about is going into Nicaragua in Central America. And I was in and out in just a little over an hour. And people are talking about spending 6 or 8 hours trying to get through that border crossing stuff. And everybody was really friendly. They pointed me where to go. All the stuff that people tell you doesn't happen. You have to pay for things in American currency and they won't give you change. So make sure you have all kinds of $1 bills. Like I paid with a 20, they gave me change and then pointed me and told me exactly where to go to the next step. And it went really easy and all those worries weren't a problem. But, I think a combination of your attitude going in and how you interact with people really changes the way that those interactions go. And that's an important thing in everywhere in life, right? It's whether it's at work or a border guard in Nicaragua. How you approach something initially really sets the framework for it.
Yeah, setting the proper tone.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, did you have to like call ahead to like embassies or whatever? You just showed up with your visa and your passport and your registration and that kind of thing.
A couple of things have changed in the last couple of months. I believe you do have to have a visa in advance to go into Brazil now if you're a U.S. citizen, at least. That wasn't the case when I was there. I could just show up. Bolivia, I was supposed to have a visa for, but they say that they will issue them on the spot, and they did. But it took a lot of paperwork, and that was the only bribe I paid on the whole trip. Was
To
at the
help hurry that
Bolivian
paperwork
border.
along.
Well, the problem was you had to have, so I had to bring them bank statements to show that I had enough money to be in the country and leave the country. They don't just take your word on it. I had to have reservations. I had to have all an itinerary and all of this stuff for what I would do in the country. And but you also had to have passport photos that they staple onto your visa application.
Okay.
And the little town that I was in on the other side of the border, I asked around and nobody takes passport photos in this little village. They don't have any way to do it.
Yeah.
So I found a.
Well, just run down to the local Walgreens.
Yeah. So I asked a company that does Jeep tours out into the desert across the border how they handle it.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, well, we just photocopy their passport and cut the picture out of the photocopy. I said, fair enough. So
keep it simple, stupid.
So that's what I did, and that's what the guy called me out on. He didn't want to do my application at the border because I didn't have photos. I only had them, and so it was one of those, well, the people at the Jeep place told me they do this all the time. He was like, well, no, and I'm like, well, let me,
you do it all the time for a fee.
Right. It's not illegal. It's just legal for a fee.
Yeah. The Jeep people didn't tell me about the obligatory tip that was included.
Well, I mean, it's providing a service. Don't you tip your servers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So did you work at all while you were out, or were you literally not working for 2.5 years?
I didn't work for the whole time. So
wow.
There were some times that I thought about trying to do some remote work to try to extend the trip, maybe potentially. But at the end, I decided that it would really change what I was doing, because my timeline, what I was doing, would be driven by that work and the work schedule. And the whole point of doing it was the freedom of doing what I wanted for that long. And so it was just, I'll get back as the money's running out to the point where I need to do it, and then deal with it when I get here. I can do the work thing again.
So you saved up beforehand, and then, I mean, I guess you didn't have a plan, but you just kind of had a budget. And once you kind of got to where your budget was not comfortable anymore, you kind of headed back. Is that how it worked?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, the big thing, I don't know how far into the videos or what you guys got through. One of the big changes was I fell and broke my ankle in Colombia and had to have surgery. And so kind of after that, I wasn't 100%. My ankle wasn't 100%. So what I could do was different. And so that was kind of I'm just going to start making my way back on paved roads, because I can't chance hurting myself again, and just work my way back and get stuff dealt with.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. Like I say, I mean, the whole idea is fantastical. Gives me highs, but it is fantastical. I love the idea. I just can't even imagine, like, for most people, I mean, for anything like that, it's like we're talking about Jay with Pat, the idea of going, well, he corrected us several times, 146,000 miles.
146.
Yeah,
146.
I cut him off by 1,000 miles in one day. 146 and 146. It's like most people, you can't even like fathom doing that, or going out for 2.5 years down to like Central and South America and just kicking around everywhere, and staying where you stay and go where you go. And of course, I think you're alluding to it too, is that he was like, well, I mean, I didn't plan, 146 days in advance. It was like, I was just planning the next day or two, and I just kept planning the next day or two and day or two and day or two until I got to, the end of it or whatever. And same for you, I guess. It's like you kind of knew where you were and what was around you, and you kind of focused on the things that, were close, that you were within a day of, and did your thing.
Yeah. I mean, generally, there's things that you do have to be aware of, things like the seasons, because you need to be in the far tip of South America when you can, because it's not covered in snow. So, there are time constraints, and trying to avoid the wet season in Central America so you don't just get pounded by rain all the time and things like that. But yeah, generally you kind of know you're working a direction and what season you want to get there, and that's the only thing to worry about.
So
That's a good.
how far north and how far south did you get for everybody?
So I went straight south here from Oregon because I've already been to Alaska. So
right. So how far into Alaska? All the way to the Arctic Circle?
No, I got really close. When I went from Fairbanks and started on the Dalton, and it was just terrible weather, pouring down rain, and I decided that it wasn't worth checking that box for me to do something stupid. So So I got a bit north of Fairbanks, but not to the Arctic Circle, and turned around. And because I wanted to spend more time doing things like seeing Denali and stuff, and I had a timeline on that trip to Alaska, and I had to be back. So it was, do I want to wait out the rain to try to go farther north, or do I want to go see Denali while it's beautiful? So that was the choice I made. And then as far south as I got as far south as any road I could find on any map would go. So
that's a good answer. I like that answer.
Yeah, I basically went to, Itchy Boots went there. I know a couple other people have, but there's a Coast Guard station south of the last city in southern Argentina on the island, and I went all the way down the road until I got to that abandoned Coast Guard station. So I couldn't find anything else on the map to go do. So from there, I turned around.
And that's where the sidewalk ends.
Yeah, right. Busted Knuckles here asked, how was the medical care in Colombia?
It was fantastic, with one caveat. I paid for private care. I didn't go into the public system for the surgery, and then my travel insurance reimbursed me for it. If you're going in for the socialized free care, I don't know. I think he would have gotten maybe a different experience.
He'd still be in Colombia waiting for his ankle surgery.
Yeah. No, but they did a fantastic job, and I went today to have a CT scan done on it because I'm seeing a surgeon about getting some of the hardware taken back out. So hopefully some things would be more comfortable for me in motorcycle boots and things like that. And no, they told me that they did a fantastic job. They did everything they would have done. Everything's where it should be. Everything was done right. So I got really good care.
You just come on over to the Harley side, then you just wear Vans, and then you're good to go.
Until you have
flip-flops and shorts. I mean,
yeah. Until you have to put a foot down for some reason, because somebody cuts you off in a parking lot.
And that flip-flop tears your toe off.
Yeah,
you get calluses after a while, from that barefoot riding.
And a 700-pound motorcycle that you're trying to, get back, that you're trying to keep upright.
Well, that actually leads into my next question. You're talking about weather and kind of seasons and everything. What did you wear? What was your gear?
So the basics are I wear armor separate that I put under a motocross jersey, and when it's really hot and humid, then I just wear
armor compression thing.
Yeah, I just wear an armor compression thing and a motocross jersey when it's hot, so that I get a lot of airflow and it's a lot more comfortable. Then I have a Moscow Moto jacket, the Gore-Tex one that goes over that. So if I'm on the highways at high speeds where I want a lot of protection from abrasion and things, or it's rainy or cold or whatever, I do that. And then I have multiple, thermal layers type stuff that I can wear with that. I have merino wool long underwear that I can put under the compression stuff, and I have, a down jacket to go under the Gore-Tex if I need more. And for pants, I started with a pair of Revit Gore-Tex pants that I wore for most of the trip. When I was having surgery in Colombia, because I had the time and I knew I'd be coming up through Central America, and Mexico was what was going to be next, I switched to some more mesh type pants and bought some cheap rain pants to throw on if I needed them. But I knew that I was done with at least the cold weather, so I wouldn't need the thermal protection of heavier pants, and so I went with something more breathable.
Gotcha. See, this guy knows what he's doing. He's got this whole layering thing down. I assume you just kind of kicked out there and just kind of like, went down to Cycle Gear and grabbed what's the house brand on there now. Just
I mean, in a lot of ways, kind of what the outer gear you have in, other than the protective level of it, doesn't matter so much. It's having the good layers and then something that's basically waterproof, whatever that is, however you do that, because that's the stuff that's going to get you and get dangerous is when you get really cold and if you get really wet. The rest of it is heat. If you need to stop and take all your gear off and jump in a river, you can do that generally, or unless you're in the desert with no shade. But really the thing is to try to just keep yourself dry and warm enough that you don't start losing dexterity in your hands and things like that.
Not a lot of hot springs on the side of the road in southern Argentina.
No. I mean, there's always things, right? I've been done it on other trips where I didn't plan and I didn't bring my good gear because I was doing a summer trip in, the Western U.S. Why would I need my winter gloves?
Right.
Where I was, stopping every 20 minutes on the shoulder and putting my hands around the engine to try to warm them up to feel my fingers again, and then ride till I couldn't feel them anymore. So, I tried to have the gear to avoid that kind of stuff and just carry it with me.
Yeah. Jay, I think. Oh, go ahead.
I feel you on that one. When I went to Alaska with my dad, I was down here in Arkansas working on a flight line for a crop dusting service. And it's 110, 105 degrees or whatever. You're just pouring sweat all day long. So Dad's like, hey, come to Washington in August and we're riding to Alaska. I'm like, okay, cool. So I grab my good jacket and my good pants and I pack it all up. Well, what gloves do I pack? Well, it's August. So I pack my fingerless mesh gloves. Well, they're not fingerless, but the tips of them are missing, Yep. And then I get off the plane. I'm like, it's a little chilly, no big deal. It's nighttime. Get up the next morning, it was 46 degrees. So the heat index on the tarmac was 121. And then I got on the plane the next day. And when I got up the next day, it was 46 degrees. And that first time I'd ever touched any kind of helmet comms. Thank God he had them. It made the trip so much better. I got to talk to my dad for 5 days. And I'm like, Dad, did you pack an extra set of gloves? Because I messed up. We got to stop and buy some, or I got to borrow some or something. He's like, well, just turn the heated grips on. I'm like, oh, well, this BMW is pretty nice. Turn the grips on. Well, of course, I've never messed with heated grips before, and these are BMW heated grips. So I just ripped them straight to high and about burnt my fingers off because they were cold and now they're hot. So I'm holding on to the bar ends trying to ride the bike with the cruise control set, waiting for them to cool off, and they held heat forever. So I feel you on the gloves.
Yeah. No. It's a mistake you make. I knew that I was going to be going through every weather on this trip. So I had, a pair of heavy insulated, waterproof winter type gloves and down to everything like, meshy dirt bike style gloves that are super light.
Yeah. Now, did you hotel or kind of bunk the entire time, or did you ever camp or take camping gear or anything like that?
I camped. Yeah, I had all my camping gear. I camped. I camp when it's going to make what I'm doing more enjoyable. I don't camp just to camp, at least not on this trip. I mean, I do times, go up to, because I love being outside and love camping, but I don't need to be in a gravel field in, Central America where everybody can see me and all my stuff. If I don't need to be. So I camped mostly on beach places. I had these grand dreams in my head of camping in Patagonia with the mountains in view and waking up to the, having a cup of coffee. And I got down there and the wind never stops, when it's like, I just didn't want to be putting a tent up and sleeping in 40-mile-an-hour winds in these, scrub grass plains, where you can barely see the mountains off in the distance. It's not the way you think it's going to be. So I camped less than I had kind of thought that I might, but I definitely camped when I found cool places on the beach and things like that where I wanted to just set up my tent and hang out and do that.
Now, you guys talking about glove problems, Jay, I've told you the Duluth story about how I was going up to Duluth and it was supposed to be like 55-ish degrees. So I didn't think too hard about the gloves.
Right.
And I got down into the mid 40s actually. And anywhere from about midnight until about 6 a.m. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get feeling back in my hands. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, the sun started coming up and I was like, okay, maybe something will happen. Hippo hands. Hippo hands.
Hippo. Hey, they look stupid. They work great.
Yeah, they look stupid, but they're awesome. The best investment for cold weather ever is hippo hands.
There's a reason why the motor patrol officers use them.
Yeah.
No, they are. They don't, but if you're limited on space and going into all kinds of stuff, you certainly don't want them on in hot weather.
Yeah. No, whenever I first got them, I had heavy ski glove kind of things under them, and heated grips, hippo hands, and heavy gloves. Too much, just too much. But now I've gotten to where I can just wear my mesh back gloves in the hippo hands in 20 degrees and perfectly comfortable. I call it my hot pockets when the grips are turned on.
My nerd is only so deep, but what was the guy's name in Dune where he had to stick his hand in the box but not flinch?
Paul Atreides?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Muad'Dib. Come on, man.
Okay, my nerd does go deep. It's my recall, it sucks. Okay. I was trying to be cool.
And being hot and wet is fine. Sometimes it's pleasant, especially if especially if you're going highway speed, you're gonna be dry in 15 minutes anyway.
I too have a wife.
Yeah. Oh dear. But we got it in there, guys. But yeah, no. Cold is one thing, wet is one thing. Cold and wet is dangerous.
Yes.
So how cold does it? Me being the American here, I'm I don't even know how cold it gets down to bottom of Argentina, Chile, whatever, does it get winter cold?
Yeah, so the southern tip of Argentina is as far south as Prince George, British Columbia is.
Oh,
north.
wow.
So you're talking, central northern BC type latitude. Yeah. So that part got down. When I was in the southern part, I was there in the height of their summer. And the high temps were 50s, low 60s in their summer. But that wasn't the coldest places I went were actually in Bolivia and that central area, but you're such high elevation.
Yeah, that's
15,000 feet. It doesn't matter where you are; it's going to get cold just from the elevation. So I had some brutal
Did
cold.
Did you get snowed on?
Yes, I got. Some light snow, but nothing that really stuck. Luckily, when I went through and it was so bitterly cold in Bolivia, it was really dry. But it got down. I think one night we saw just about single digits Fahrenheit. Everything was. I was having to do conversions because everything's in Celsius down there. But I think I did the math, and it was about 9 or 10 degrees Fahrenheit one night when going through the really high plateau in Bolivia. So yeah,
that's chilly. Did you do the death road?
Yes, I did the death road.
Yeah. All right. Was it the death road or was it kind of a letdown? I'm curious. I've heard
it depends on, I think, what you're expecting and what you want from it.
And what season it is, I would imagine.
Yeah. But even the season, I don't think matters that much because the really narrow, scary part that, you always see the films of, you see, Top Gear did it and, and all of that stuff. That area is right under a waterfall. So even when it's dry, that area is soaking wet because there's a waterfall that comes off there.
Gotcha.
But I think the thing you have to keep in mind is that it was the most dangerous road for a reason. And you just get lucky to not have two-way traffic on it now. And if you when you ride it, if you just kind of imagine two-way traffic going on what you're doing and,
trying to
coming
pass
across
one
this
another.
and going, what happens if there was a bus coming down here? What would we do? Even on a motorcycle, there's not room. If a bus wanted to come past in some of those places, you'd be trying to figure out what to do. And they can't back up. You can't back up. What do you do?
Yeah.
And that's what made it so dangerous, and keeping that in mind and understanding what it is. In that regard, I think it was worth it. And it's a stunningly beautiful part of Bolivia to go see. Just being there to see the views is worth it. But it's basically now it's a mountain bike tourist spot. That's really, other than some motorcyclists that go up there, that's all they do is they take people up in a van, put them on mountain bikes, and they ride their mountain bike down it and say, I rode the death road on my mountain bike.
Damn tourist traps going everywhere.
Right? We can't even. Yeah, there's lines up Everest. There's mountain bikers on the death road. Like
I heard Everest has got an escalator now. So I mean, what do you? But that does lead me to my next question, Dewey. What's one of the prettiest things that you got to see? Something that just kind of stuck with you,
Sure.
and that you were literally in awe of.
A couple that are there. One was entirely unexpected. I went to Brazil, which I wasn't originally planning on doing. But there's a kind of mountainous canyon region in southern Brazil that is just spectacular. It's like Yosemite with palm trees.
Yeah.
is kind of the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Kind of like Grand Canyon and Yosemite, those huge walls, but you have palm trees and things in it because of where it's located.
Yeah, instead of evergreens and scrub brush.
Yeah, but you get the tropical sun colors and sunset colors that you just kind of associate with closer to the equator than the northern hemisphere, than where we're at, and it was just stunningly beautiful. And I had no idea it was there until basically I got there. It was never on my list, so I didn't know. Some things, I think you build an expectation up because you know that it's beautiful and everybody talks about it. So then you expect it to be beautiful. And so then you have this, does it meet my expectations? When you didn't know something was there and you're just smacked by it and go, this is stunning. This is incredible. And
did you say Yosemite with palm trees? Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like trying to think. So I was like, oh, that was a super cool line. If that's what he said, I need to like write that down.
Yeah. It's kind of like Zion. Everybody talks about Zion, and I'm like, I want to go, but now I've heard so many people talk about it that I'm like, nope, I'm going to wait. I'm going to give it a couple of years, and then Chase, you've been all about the world, all about the central part of the country. What's something that you found that was like, oh man, that was just, you had to take a moment, suck it in.
I mean, gosh, there's a lot. I mean, when you get out in kind of the middle of nowhere, which I sort of appreciate, because I mean, it's not that I live in a city, which Jay, you live in like kind of a similar area to me in terms of, people and stuff and everything. But it's like when you find stuff that's different, which, we were talking about Duluth earlier, like riding up through Minnesota in like kind of in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota at sunrise, just seeing the sun come up with, the 10,000 lakes and just all of the evergreen. And I mean, there were those prehistoric mosquitoes, but it was just like, it felt like, you were in some weird TV, it was like Fargo or something, like you're out in this place. And it's cool. There's all these little bits, it's like even nothing like super special, just riding over Lake Eufaula, like right at the perfect time of sunset where you can like your camera and you see like all the sunset across the water just kind of unfold in front of you. It's like that little stuff that just sticks with you. Yeah. I'm always bummed because when I get home and upload the footage and I'm like, man, that was the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, too bad my action camera caught like 25% of the awesomeness of that, or whatever.
In 1080.
Yeah, in 1080.
Yeah. Dewey, what was you? Go ahead.
No, well, I was gonna say there's so many little things like, when I did the ride around Arkansas, and I was down around like Magnolia, kind of just out in the middle of nowhere where like the forest had begun to retake some of these roads, and you're just like out there and you're like, I'm the only person out here. I haven't seen a car in 30 minutes or whatever. And this road has become half its width because it's been grown over from the sides. It's like, what am I doing? Like, I mean,
Dewey, what you said there was a couple. Was there another one?
Yeah. There was a glacier in Patagonia. It's called the Prieto Moreno Glacier. And, I'd seen some pictures and I had it marked as something I wanted to go see, but I had no idea of the scale of it and the proximity you get to it. And it was just seeing something that big like that and a glacier, with that bright blue glacial ice was just incredible.
How close did you get?
So you can take a boat and they'll take you out like right there and you're watching chunks fall off of it. And and you're looking up at this massive wall of ice. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we stopped at one on our trip. I think it's called Bear Glacier, and you know, we pulled up, and pull up. I'm not really paying super attention to it, and I want to take a photo and whatnot. And Dad wanted to stop and stretch his legs and stop at the glacier, for first glacier I'd ever seen. But then after I got off the bike, got my helmet off, and actually looked at the damn thing, I was like, wow, that's really big, because there's a lake between where the viewing spot is and the actual glacier. And it just pulling up, it feels like the lake's not that far away from you. It's not that far across the lake. But then when you actually take it in and actually calculate in your brain, you're like, whoa, that lake is really big and that thing is huge.
Yeah.
And then all the blue and white, and especially in the middle of summer, it was awesome to see.
Yeah, and to put into perspective this glacier in South America, because now if you know Bear Glacier and kind of its size, this glacier is a mile from one side to the other across the face of it, and it's 400 feet above the water line is where the top of the glacier is. So it is just at a scale that is just you don't know. No picture shows the scale, because you're not you don't look up at a picture of it and get an idea of just how big what you're looking at is.
You have to film it really in 3D and watch it back with like a Apple Vision Pro or something.
With your drone and your yeah. Now, XAN, what you were talking about, the Mississippi River, I will say, when I went over to the Delta and spent like a day getting rained on in the Delta, everybody acts like it's such a terrible place, like it's just like this boring, flat, like cornfields or soybean fields or whatever it is. Like, it's just so expansive. And you guys talking about the glaciers, like, it's really cool when you get into nature and things make you feel small. Like during your normal everyday life, like everything's kind of catered for you to not feel small. But whenever you get out away from, your neighborhood and your town and your whatever, and it's like you get out into like some actual force of nature that you're just like, oh, damn, I'm like an ant on this plane here, or whatever. That's super cool. And it's something that I wish more people got to experience, because I feel like they would have a different perspective on life if they just kind of got out in the middle of nowhere more, and were insignificant.
It's true. And especially, I love going to places like deserts and salt flats and places like that, because, I'm from a place that's nothing but mountains and big fir trees. So it's completely foreign to what I know when I get into a place like that. And that just, it's such a cool difference from what I know when you see places like that.
Yeah, Jay's been hyping up the PNW for me for like, a year or two now. And I'm like, God, like, it's like, oh, you got to go to this burger joint, but you're not going to look at the mountain until you eat your burger, and then you walk out and then you see the mountain.
Yeah, coming out of Longmire, you walk out onto the porch and then the mountain's just laid out there in front of you. I used to ride up there every weekend just to go ride up there.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Rainier is one of the most amazing mountains you'll ever see. It holds its own with anything I saw in South America, even with the Andes. There's very few that are from bottom to top as big and impressive as something like Rainier.
And the ride into the park entrance with just those giant freaking trees, man. And it's just, you're lined up. You want to talk about feeling small, Chase? Riding to the gate. You're not even in the park yet. You're just on the road to get to the park entrance. And it's just this wall of giant trees. And you're like, wow, I feel small. And also, those are really big. And then if it's not cloudy, you get up to the top up at Paradise. And it's like, man, this is cool. And the nice thing about Rainier is you can ride it all the way around it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it takes a couple hours, but
it takes a couple hours. Yeah, I don't know where I think he must be rebelling because Sarah's not here. Usually he comes in and is like curious about things, but I don't know. Oko, are you still alive in there? Come here. No hearing any movement.
He must be outside.
Yeah, he's gone. Now, so let's see. We covered gear. We covered bikes. Jay, I'm trying to think. Is there some? There are probably like 3 pressing questions that I didn't cover that I will be remiss if I don't. But
you didn't bring your spreadsheet.
I was trying.
I was going to hold that one. I wasn't even going to say it this time, Dewey. Thank you. Thank you for having my back.
Some of them are more planned than others. Listen.
Right.
So now you took 2 bikes down. Did you start on one and then switch to one and switch back?
No, well, so the first one was stolen from
I missed that
from a
part.
hotel in southern Mexico. So I would have done the whole trip on that one if it had made
And that
it.
was the DR.
Yeah, that was the DR 650.
Yeah, gotcha.
I
So
assumed
you were
liked it
planning
more.
on doing that whole trip on a 650, and you ended up on a 250. I'm gonna do the like. How did that make you feel?
Right.
Part of it was I looked for it when the 650 was stolen. I'd learned enough to realize that you don't need anything bigger than a 250 once you get south of the U.S. border. The roads and the infrastructure and everything else on the road isn't fast enough. The 250 most places was about the fastest motorcycle these guys had ever seen, and it was you're going twice the speed of everybody else on their motorcycles, and the trucks are going. So you don't need what do you need 150 horsepower for?
Right.
Well, that's to be fair. A DR does not have 150 horsepower.
No, but a big BMW or KLR does. But the 250 though, when you get up at altitude and steep climbs, it's kind of, you could use more there. But
a spare carburetor with a fatter jet in it in the saddlebag just in case.
Yeah. Well, the 250 luckily was fuel injected, so I didn't have to deal with it. But I wanted one that I could pick up on my own and easily. It's really easy to get in trouble if you can't pick your own motorcycle up. So
that's fair.
And a smaller and lighter bike is just easier off road, no matter what you do. Less weight is a lot easier to deal with.
So what all did you have packed on your bike?
So basically my layout was I had one side pannier, one of the soft bags was all of my camping gear. So it's the sleeping bag, the tent, the sleeping pad, pillow, and then the split tools for everything that I would do for maintenance and tools and stuff was split between either side and packed at the bottom. So all that weight is down low. And then my other bag was all of my clothing and everything I need. So if I do go to a hotel, basically I grab that one bag and at least I have everything for the night in the hotel from that one bag. I don't have to do anything. And then I had a top box that was basically my electronics and stuff that I get to during the day. So I had my laptop because I was editing and filming this while I went. So I had my laptop, a spare cameras, spare gloves, stuff like that in the top box. And that's pretty much how I packed.
Everybody hit the like button for Oko.
He was sleeping on the couch. I heard him get up and shake his ears. So I was like, oh, okay. I'll call him in here now.
What was packed in your tank bag?
I only added the tank bag.
Yeah.
Partway through because I wanted somewhere to put money for toll booths when I got to toll booths because I got tired of fishing for my wallet and stuff. I wanted to be able to toss some change and a little bit of money in there. So basically, the only thing that was in there was a little bit of money, pack of gum, stuff like that. That I didn't really use it. I don't really like tank bags, but when I got into countries where they had toll booths and you'd hit one every 30 miles, it was taking your gloves off of the toll booth, trying to get your wallet out and unzip your jacket and all that. I just needed a place that I could get to easily.
Just stash it right on top.
Yeah.
First, I was like, sample any local wildlife. I was like, oh, that's pretty innocuous. And I was like, did you carry any prophylactics? Damn it, John.
Well, I was going to keep it a little more G-rated and ask, what was some of the better food?
Well, I'll tell John, you can buy that stuff anywhere.
And the American dollar goes real far.
Yeah. You don't need to carry it with you. And whether I know from experience is up to your imagination on that.
That's the Patreon only, not the YouTube videos.
But your food question though.
Yeah.
Right.
All of us had to drag our minds out of the gutter real quick. Back to the food. What's some dope food you run into?
Mexican food for sure, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason that everybody everywhere in the world loves Mexican food, and
Right.
nobody does it like they do down there.
It's the same 5 ingredients, but you'd be amazed what they can do with it.
Well, I mean, so there's a lot of variations actually, but one of the big highlights was I had proper mole sauce in Oaxaca, Mexico, and it was freaking incredible. And the problem is now I know I have to go back to Oaxaca if I ever want to have that experience of it again. I won't get mole like that unless I go back.
You ever seen Once Upon a Time in Mexico?
Yeah,
With Johnny Depp?
Yep.
You have to walk back here in the back and have a talk with the chef.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that was definitely some of the best food. But Brazil and Argentina and places, they have fantastic food as well, and especially if you like a good steak and barbecue and stuff, you can't
I
go
say it's
wrong
just
with
all
that.
meat. It's all meat once you get to South America, right?
Yeah, they love their meat. I mean, there's lots of fruit and lots of rice and beans and stuff too, but yeah, the meat in South America, especially like Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, is phenomenal, and the Mexican food, and then try the fruits wherever you go, because when you're in tropical places, there's all kinds of fruits and things that you've never heard of and never even thought of and didn't know about that are worth trying at least once, even if they're not good.
Yeah. And how was there we go. How was the pricing on the food?
Everything was cheap generally, with a
Yeah.
few exceptions. There's a few of the big cities, things can be a little bit more expensive, like Santiago, Chile.
Yeah.
Is an expensive city even for food.
Yeah.
Like how much was a steak? Like just
So when I was there in Argentina, because the exchange rate was really favorable at the time and the economy and things there, I would get a steak, a side, and a glass of wine for $8 or $9 US.
oh geez, yeah,
Solid. Yeah, solid.
I can't
So
get
that
a
never
big
got old.
nugget for that.
Yeah. I didn't complain.
Busted's got a good question. If there was one place from your travels to spend the rest of your life, where would it be?
So it's not as easy of a question, but there's 3 places that are marked for me that I'm absolutely going back to, and how much time I spend there and how I split the time and all that is the big questions. But Colombia, and that's what Road Reality just said in the comments. He's going to say Donkey Sunrise, but Colombia and that area around Donkey Sunrise is not just because the Donkey Sunrise people are so cool, but that's just a beautiful area of the world. It's interesting and vibrant and fun. Salta, Argentina, is one of the other ones. And it was the first place that I got to on the trip where I actually looked at real estate while I was there to get an idea of kind of what I would be looking at. It's like, is this, comparable to the US? Is it significantly cheaper? Is this like living in New York City, right? And find out. But the other place, and it's because I made fantastic friends there, is I do want to go spend a significant amount of time in Brazil, just because of the people that I know there now. And I want to go spend time with them and hang out with them and do that stuff instead of just flying in for a week, and saying hi. So those are the 3 places. And maybe 4th, Nicaragua. I really loved a few places in Nicaragua.
Secret wife in Brazil. There you go.
My friend Andre's wife has been trying.
So you said you haven't worked since you've gotten back. So when are you going to work, or what have you been up to?
I've been looking for work. I just, I didn't really choose the best time to come back and start looking for work with a 2-year gap on my resume.
Like AI did not exist before you left, and then he came back and was like, shit.
Yeah, pretty much. I work in IT, right? My job.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a lot of looking, but I'm still, not to the point where I'm desperate enough that I'll take anything. So I'm still looking for what I want, something I can do remote and things like that. So yeah, I'll find something eventually. The economy will turn around, jobs will turn around, something will happen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's your specialty in IT?
I work with databases, so I
Okay.
do mostly Oracle and Oracle applications, but I know, SQL Server and Mongo and some Hadoop stuff. So yeah, anybody watching who wants to hire a rockstar DBA.
Now, Jay, I was looking at that comment. I was like, I'm gonna let Jay choose if he throws that one up or not.
Oh, you know I am. that was silly, sir. That was silly.
Yeah, I will tell you, John, the foot pictures have some scars on them now after my surgery.
Hey
Hey
man,
man,
there was definitely a niche for that, I'm sure.
I was
I'm sure
about
there
to
is.
say. There's a niche, I guarantee it. Hey, Dewey, have you ever seen? Oh, hold on, I did it wrong. There we go. You ever seen this book, The Complete Motorcycle Nomad?
I haven't.
If you run across it in your
I
local
might have to go
bookstore,
read that.
your local library, it's from the late '70s, but it's still a pretty fun read. So,
Do you know if you can buy it electronically?
Sure.
I don't know. Uh, maybe on Kindle or something. I'm a physical copy kind of guy. I don't read a lot of books, but when I do, I want them in my hand, kind of a thing. And that's my third copy. So
Okay, no, it was just one of those. If it's hard to find, and instead of digging through my local bookstore that doesn't have it, if I could get it
you're
online,
right.
it might be.
I have this weird habit of I'll listen to a book like an audiobook, really enjoy it, and buy it in the physical just to have it on my shelf as like a book I really like.
Yeah.
Like Busted Knuckles, Jeremy here's asking better questions than I have, so I'm just gonna let him ask them,
And the answer is no, not once. The hardest part was actually coming back. When you get used to doing what I did for so long, it became kind of my life, and it was a kind of sad, actually, in some ways, to have to come back. But the part about coming back that I love is I get to see my family and my friends and things that I'd missed for that time. But no, I never really felt burnt out. I got so comfortable with it. It was just what I did.
Did you have a lot of difficulty adjusting when you did get back?
There's times I find myself more than anything, it's kind of like this boredom of I was in a new place every day and it was this constant sensory input and I don't have that. And so that's been the biggest adjustment. It's like, what do I do?
Right.
Yeah, right.
It'd be like us if we put our phones down for 3 days.
Yes, yeah.
No,
I mean, it's probably pretty similar, actually.
Yeah.
I keep bringing it back to us talking to Pat last weekend or last week, but like he was talking. Of course, you had people with you, or you were around people and meeting new people all the time. But he said he felt like Tom Hanks in Castaway, after coming back after 5 months or whatever, because he was like, I spent so much time on the road, not talking to anybody, and all of a sudden I'm back in normal life. So, but yeah, I'm assuming it's a completely different experience when you're just sort of experiencing the places and people much more than just kind of riding through the places and people,
Yeah. I mean, I got stopped a lot, and I was in places where I stood out, and people were very interested in why I was there, and for them, I think, especially in countries where most people don't own cars and will never make enough money to own a car, seeing a big red motorcycle like mine, was for them like seeing a Ferrari drive through town, and then find out what the person's doing there, right? And and I got, most places, somebody in the restaurant would buy my meal for me or buy me a beer or something just because I was there and they wanted me to feel welcome and not show that hospitality. But yeah, everywhere I went, somebody came up and talked to me and wanted, to know where I was from and how far I'd gone, and where I was going to next, and all that stuff.
Well, that leads me into my final segment here. What does the future hold for you? Where are you headed to next?
I have a few things.
And then after work.
Yeah, no, it's work. Some of it will kind of depend on if the next one I'm working remote while I try to travel, then
Yeah.
it's, then it'll be like 5 days in one spot and then travel for 2 days and 5 days in a spot. Then I may go, sorry, then I may go back to South America for a while,
Yeah.
and spend time in those places that we talked about and just work. But big trip wise, there's a couple that I want to do. Number one is like Central Asia. I would
Yeah.
love to go through Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, that area with the
Yeah.
big mountains and stuff. And I really kind of want to go do that before the Chinese pave over it all and turn it into a superhighway. I'd like to go when it's still kind of a remote area.
Yeah.
And but I also really want to go to Australia and maybe
R-
New Zealand to do like that Oceania area. That'd be a huge trip for me. So one of those two will probably be the next big trip that I take on.
Australia is a bucket list for me. Like if I had the chance of something, if somebody said, hey, here's some change, your bills are covered, where do you
Yeah.
want to go? Australia is probably top of my list.
And I'll probably do Australia much differently than I did South America. I know that
Yeah.
there's the outback and the dirt roads and there's stuff to go see there. But that might be one where I just rent a Harley and ride up the east coast of Australia from Melbourne to Darwin on a Harley along the coast and just enjoy it and enjoy the culture and being there. So we'll
That would
see.
be, yeah.
Depends
That's
on what I do.
Yeah, if I was to go to Australia, that would be what I want to do. I want to see some outback. I want to see the mountains. I want to see the coastline. But yeah, just the east side all the way up would be awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't know that I would need to do it on a dual sport. I think I
Yeah,
could get him.
yeah, we can
go
stay
on
on
more
the highway,
comfortable.
boss.
Go on a more comfortable.
That's when you
bike
get your Road King out there. Get your Harley going.
Right.
What'd you say? July is when you got back?
Yeah, I got back in the middle of July. So yeah, like I said, I
That'd
think
be
it's
a
been
good time to go to
4 months.
Australia. It's the middle of July.
Yeah, the problem is I think when you start to get to the far south, like Tasmania and Melbourne, I think you kind of, I think it starts getting a little bit cooler and colder if you go in there winter. So
Yeah,
you got everything. You got to time it with whatever the weather's going to give you.
yeah. Start in the south and work your way up to the north.
Yeah,
That'd be a pretty cool That's at least a 2-week trip. Just to
yeah,
take it easy.
yeah. At least I would probably it'd probably take me 6 weeks to do it if I did.
Judging by his past, I feel like this is an extended trip for Mr. Dewey rides.
Right.
Which the more power to you. I'm like a mile chewer, so it's weird to me to think about just like stopping and hanging out for a while.
Yeah. Oh, I got into my routine. There's stuff that you figure out that when you slow down, you learn to really like. I would stop all the time at these little roadside fruit stands where there's just this, little Mexican lady or a Colombian lady or something. They have their little fruit stand, and you're trying to make change because I'm using ATMs, which nobody down there really uses, and getting these massive bills in their currency that would be the equivalent of having $100 bills everywhere you went and going to buy an apple with $100 bill. And they're trying to figure out, they don't know how to make change for it. They're trying to figure out what to do. They don't understand why I'm only buying one and not, enough to take home a week. And
one now and one later.
Yeah. But just the smiles and then sitting there and eating it and watching the world go by. And I learned to really enjoy that stuff. And that slows you down in what you do every day when you just stop and do that stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I just haven't experienced it. So I'm like, I trust you, but I don't know what that's like.
Well then, Chase, we're gonna have to go on a Chase ride and let you plan it, and then we're gonna have to go on a Jason ride and let me plan it.
Well, I think like Dewey, like you were saying earlier, part of it is, when you kind of got a day job and you can't just like take off or whatever, you sort of get in the groove of like, well, I'm going to cover this amount. I'm going to go to this place and get back in a day or two, and you just kind of get in that mindset, which means you got to make miles.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
It is. And when you're on a timeline, you don't want to, when you only get 3 weeks of vacation, or something like that a year, you don't want to spend those 3 weeks not doing anything, right? You want to get your bang for the buck out of it
Yeah.
and how you spend your vacation time. So you want to pack as much as you can into that time that you have to go ride your motorcycle. You don't want to waste it. When you have all the time in the world, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure.
We should have just sent Jeremy a link. So
yeah, right. Like that's actually one of the questions I was gonna ask. Well, similar. I was like, is there any place that you felt afraid or whatever? That's kind of in that same vibe, I feel like.
So, I mean, one, I would avoid the one hotel where my motorcycle was stolen, find a different one in that town. But
what? No, it's a great place. Other than that one thing.
The only place that I didn't particularly like is the only place that I went to twice on the whole trip. There's a stretch of highway in northern Peru that's 3 or 4 days worth of riding, and it's riding all day. It's a lot of miles. But both times that I went through Peru, on the way south and on the way north, I did have a time constraint, and I couldn't go through the mountains and take forever. I needed to get onto that stretch of highway and cover some miles for part of it. And that is just the most godforsaken, ugly place that you can go.
I feel the same way about New Mexico.
Yeah, this is a whole new level.
About New Mexico. I've been warned against New Mexico several times.
I love Arizona, and I love Texas, and I just cannot stand driving Interstate 40 through New Mexico. I try to do it in the dark where I don't have to look at it.
It's not bad through Albuquerque. I did it.
Albuquerque's pretty. Like I enjoy it. It's like the tip of the tail end of the Rockies. It's really cool.
What's funny is I think when you cross the border on I-40 from New Mexico going into Texas and then into Oklahoma, like that panhandle of Texas through Amarillo, man, that's brutal. There's nothing out there.
Oh man, I just did that like 6 months ago, and I was like, oh, I love it's like Mars with windmills, like
and wind.
Yeah, and wind. That was that one time I ran out of gas because I had a 40-mile-per-hour headwind I didn't account for.
Had to break out the 1 gallon surplus.
Yeah.
Back up gas.
Yeah, that sounds like the panhandle.
Yeah. It's just the panhandle and then this dot of Amarillo and then New Mexico and this dot of Albuquerque and then on into Arizona, and then it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I talk trash. The most pretty thing, the most beauty I've ever seen on a road trip ever is we were coming south. What is it? It's Highway 425 now. But when I did it, it was Highway 666, and it's just straight down the side of the state. And I guess there's a place called the Volume Bluffs or whatever, and we were driving through, and as the sun was coming up, and as we come down the hill, I look to my left as the sun's coming up, and the whole desert floor is lit up from the frost and looked like somebody had just sprinkled diamonds across the desert floor. And there's these big red and yellow and orange bluffs, and the sky was all red and orange from the sun coming up with a little bit of blue and some purple. And I just pulled over, and my brother was in front of me in his Jeep, and he keyed up on the CB. He's like, "Whoa, hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "I just need a moment." And me and my dog got out and just stood there on the side of the road and just watched the sun come up for a minute. And it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life in a state that I can't stand. So
yeah, there's something ever. I had there's a ride because I came from Phoenix into New Mexico and then cut between I-10 and I-40 going into Albuquerque through. There's a bunch of canyons and big rock formations. There's a big hole in the rock and an arch and stuff out there. Yeah. And that's a stunningly beautiful area. But it's everywhere. There's always something beautiful, and except for northern Peru, there's nothing beautiful.
I was gonna wax poetic about everything has its own different kind of beauty, and then I've been close to like Memphis and St. Louis, and it's all gross, and I remember that it's gross,
So I think that's the biggest part that turned me off to that part of Peru is there's garbage everywhere. Like you're going down the road and there's garbage piled up 2.5, 3 feet deep on both sides of the road. It's just ruined the whole experience, and the people weren't particularly friendly. I couldn't, I had trouble trying to get a cup of coffee in the morning in places. Nobody was open or sold coffee. It was just frustrating and not pretty and not fun. So,
nobody in Peru sold coffee. What the hell?
Just in this little region, this little northern region along the coast where it's out in the desert along the coast. It was, I'd go to a restaurant or a cafe, you know, thinking they're serving breakfast. They're going to have coffee. Oh no, no coffee. We have tea and ceviche. What do I want ceviche at 9 a.m. for?
Speak for yourself, sir. Oh, not Peruvian nice chicken.
I will warn you guys though that I probably need to call it quits.
No,
here.
you're good.
Yeah, we went over a little bit, but
so.
I was having fun. I appreciate you staying long, sir.
You guys didn't even have like a weird like PNW, you know, circle hug love session.
No, we did that before we turned the
we grabbed hands and danced around a fir tree.
we said nice things about Mount Rainier.
Yeah, I know. I just figured you guys would like kind of reminisce together about like, oh, this little random town nobody else heard of. You heard of that one?
Yeah, we did. We did that. We talked about Longmire. We
did. Yeah. Well, I think that was in the warm up.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if y'all don't know, if you hadn't already done so, please go follow Dewey Rides on his channel. It does have some pretty dope videos on there. I'm way behind.
Have our names up.
What? Why aren't our names up? Give me that comment.
There we go. There's his name. Okay, I was like, shit, nobody's gonna know who he is.
Dewey Rides. See, it's right there on the screen. Please don't forget to go by Chase's channel and like and subscribe over there. And of course, you're here. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Dewey, thank you again. For serious, brother, I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you sharing your story. Keep making videos. Keep doing your thing, brother. I got a lot of catching up to do, but it's been fun trying to catch up so far.
No, man, I had a good time. We had lots of laughs and just chatted motorcycles, right? It doesn't get better than that. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hope to see you again sometime.
Yeah, let's make sure we try to do that. And you know, I've got to catch up on your guys' stuff now.
Oh man, mine's just a bunch of dumb stuff. The fun stuff's here.
I like dumb stuff, man. I like to watch somebody else do it.
Yeah. I got to get back to doing comedy skits on the front side of my videos, though. It was always fun.
Jay's funny. His videos are terrible, but he's funny at least.
Right. The first 30 seconds of my videos are great.
That's what I'm missing. When I try to be funny, it's just cringe.
Right. I mean, it takes me a couple of shots. I gotta edit it real nice. My editing skills are funnier than my actual mouth. So
you can fix your own sense of humor in post.
Yeah, right. It's all AI. Don't worry about it. Thanks everybody for stopping by. Y'all have a good time out there. Take care of one another because won't nobody else. Y'all have a good night, and I'm going to hit this end stream button. One of these days, I'm going to figure out to get that prepped.
Yeah, he always awkwardly waits like 10 seconds until we're done. He's like, hang on, I got to find the button up here after I've done my outro.
Yeah, you know? Outro's over, and then there's like 15 seconds of like, okay, crap, hold on just a second. And, oh, no, I got to push it twice. Y'all have a good one. Be safe.
Pull up on me, break